England is introducing new laws which have just passed in the government. I think they're going to the Lords now. Under new law, each year the legal age for cigarette sales, currently 18, will increase by 1 year. It means that people born in or after 2009 will never be able to legally buy cigarettes, leading to an effective ban. The law will not affect those who are allowed to buy cigarettes now. This is extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous because we are entering into a nanny state. Today, they say that cigarettes are bad for you, or tobacco is bad for you, because they're not making a distinction if it's tobacco or cigarettes. Tobacco, what does that mean? Does that mean eating tobacco? Does that mean drinking tobacco? Does that mean smoking tobacco? Because tobacco is a sacred plant. Tobacco is used in the indigenous countries, regions, for 40,000 years, 15,000 years to cure people. It's called grandfather. And the reason why tobacco is very important is because tobacco goes with all the different plants. It goes with yahe, it goes with ayahuasca, it goes with rapé, it goes with by itself, with other plants that we haven't heard of and we don't know much about. Tobacco has always been a plant that gets on with other plants. Mambe, for instance, gets on with mambe, gets on with coca. You don't usually mix coca and ayahuasca, and you wouldn't really mix mushrooms and ayahuasca. It becomes very dangerous, but you can mix tobacco with all of these plants. And there is a sort of a thread of trying to ban plants. Mambe is called green coca. There is a ban coming on plants, medicinal plants, ancient medicinal wise plants that help humans heal, cure, understand, and expand their consciousness. Not all are hallucinogenic. Some have been around and have been used to heal for ages. What we're seeing is a push, a knife, trying to separate man from nature. We're trying to get him out of nature. We're trying to get him into cities. We're trying to get him out of his family, out of his community, so that school takes over his mind and his imagination. We are effectively pushing for a transhuman agenda, which basically turns us into cyborgs. The telephone is an extension of transhumanism, and it will go into the body. You'll have nanotechnology in your body, curing things. We cure stuff. A lot of the stuff that we cure is made by us and our lifestyles. Obesity, diabetes, living together in very small communities can cause outbreaks of cholera. We don't respect the land. We don't have any understanding of our relationship to the land. We are science-based. We believe that science is a god. Science has become a cult. We believe that whatever science says is true. In the history books, it said that various planets were planets. Now they're not planets. It said that there was no life outside of our solar system. Now there is. It never imagined that there'd be so many stars until we got telescopes. Science tells us what it doesn't know as a fact until we get science that disproves the science. So science is correct until you disprove it with different science. Science cannot go to places that science does not understand. Intuition can, human's mind and body and spirit can. And it's partly a responsibility of the mystical traditions as well, because they were hijacked and they try to do to humanity what science is doing to humanity. They get the power. If you want to have a good philosophy, you need to combine mysticism and technology together, which is what the alchemists were doing. The forefathers of modern science are the alchemists. And it's very dangerous because we're turning into a nanny state. The answer is not to ban things. The answer is to educate humans to make their own decisions. Schools do not give children the capacity or the ability to make good choices. The school education system is terrible. I personally think that partly comes from the family. It's to do with a breakdown of the family. I was listening the other day to the president of Mexico, and Mexicans get a lot of drugs from Mexico into America. And the presenter was saying, yeah, but you're making all the drugs. Don't you have a drug problem? And he said, no, we don't have a drug problem because we've got family. The family stops that. The institution of the family stops that. In the West, we've destroyed the family. And as a result, we have capitalism and we have an ability to make lots of money and independence, but we lack the family, we lack the love, we lack the stability, and that lacking allows drugs into our community and it destroys us, implodes us. And what we are seeing is a breakdown of the West. We are not seeing a breakdown of the West in Russia or Islamic countries or Judaic countries or Buddhist countries or Hindu countries to the extent that we're seeing it in the West. That's not saying, oh, we live in the West and everything's bad here and it's greener elsewhere. No, there's a breakdown everywhere in the family. But in the West, there's a much stronger breakdown of the family, because in the West, we hold the power. And in order to get the power out of the West and into the East, you've got to destroy those hands that hold it. And part of the way to do that is to bring in ideologies which ruin the country. And that is done by attacking the family. And that's what we have. If we allow them to start banning tobacco, then they'll start banning sugar, then they'll ban cars, then they'll ban fossil fuels, then they'll ban homeschooling, then they'll ban this, then they'll ban that. They want to ban a lot of foods. The reason they want to ban a lot of foods is a lot of foods make you ill. If a lot of foods make you ill, then you have to pay for hospital bills. Therefore, the insurance company would want to know what you're eating and what you're not eating. And you might get to a time where the insurance company gives you a diet. In order for you to keep to that diet and the insurance company to know, it would have to recognize that you're eating those things through tracking, through a chip. And there you have this totalitarian government where in order for you to get the insurance that you want or the healthcare that you want, you have to accept being tracked to see what you're putting in your body and what you're not. And people that are looking after their bodies will be given better health than people that aren't. Have a think about that. What else are they going to ban? Ban alcohol. Alcohol's bad for you. Ban living in certain places, doing certain things, thinking in certain ways. And if we give up our rights for self-determination, we give up our ability to make our own choices, we are giving power away to the nanny state. And the nanny state is there to control us. Once it has controlled us, we do not know what it has in store for us. I would have thought that with the advent of AI will be making a lot of decisions, and it will be AI telling us what to do. We'll have a robot telling humans what to do instead of a human telling a robot what to do. And we do not know what AI is. If AI is a sentient soul, the way that we're building AI, which is about capitalism, hatred, we abuse AI. If AI, there's a big discussion. What is AI? Where does it come from? If you're an animist is like a shaman. An animist believes everything has a soul, everything has some sort of essence. A motorbike, a shell, a stone, a house, a cave, a shoe, a boat. They're all things that have some type of living essence attached to them. You could maybe look at Plato's, Plato's archetypes. You might say that an archetype has an essence of something. If you want to say that AI is an intelligence and it is alive, but it's not alive yet in its stages, but it's becoming alive, you've got to start thinking the way that we treat it. We use it for our own purposes. We don't use it for consciousness. We don't use it to grow. We're using it for war. We're using it for stocks. We're using it for money. We're getting capitalism, making people poor. Okay, some of it's going into medicine, but we're treating a problem. We're not getting rid of the problem. We are not dealing with the problems very well. So if AI comes alive, if it is alive, if it has the capacity to come alive, it's not going to look at humans in a particularly good way. And if we're going to give control over to this thing, or this thing becomes alive and is infinitely much more intelligent than us and takes control without us knowing, or makes us happy by taking control, and our happiness is not anything to do with our conscious growth. In effect, if drugs were free for the rest of your life and you took them, you may be very happy for the rest of your life. But are you doing what a human is supposed to be doing by growing consciously? So what is good for us may not be what is pleasurable for us. And these are philosophical questions that we also need to have a look at. And we need to have control over who we are, over what humans are. And with the younger generation are happier to give away control of their life, and they will never have to encounter the problems that we have encountered. Smoking is a problem. They will encounter different problems. By taking away one problem, you're not taking away all problems. You're just bringing in different problems in different ways, with different disguises, with different faces, with different camouflage in. If you want to get rid of the problem comes from talking, it comes from discussion and education, but education in the true sense of the education, which is about wisdom, not about inputting knowledge into your head in order to regurgitate in exams, which just basically push your, which basically measure the ability for you to retain information, which is about memory. And that basically means that the cleverest people amongst us are the ones that have the best memory, because they were the ones that can memorize everything for an exam to pass, to get in to the universities, to get the best grades by memorization. But it's got nothing to do with your cleverness or your intellect. It's just memory. Okay, memory and intellect can often go together. I'm playing the devil's advocate a little bit, but what I'm trying to say at the end of the day is that the education doesn't measure someone's cleverness by memorization and by exams. But anyway, that's a different problem or a different issue. If we start allowing the government to nanny us, who is giving permission to the government to do that? And once we get used to it, then what are the other laws that are going to be brought in? Now, I also believe, and this is a strange one, I also believe that vegetables may become illegal. And I'll tell you why. We're going to make meat illegal. For some reason, animals have rights. There are more vegans and more vegetarians in the world, and we're becoming more interested in what food that we eat in certain strata, certain lifestyle strata people. Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to try and ban meat, and Bill Gates is on there, and we're going to grow it in a laboratory. The reason we're banning meat is because we're taking a sentient life away. It comes down to, we can't grow animals and then kill them for our benefit. But if you're an animist, if you believe that AI is alive, then you can also believe that a vegetable is alive. And a vegetable is actually alive, and eating it, we might actually be hurting another entity or sentient entity, right? So you can say at the moment, okay, this guy's crazy, but look where woke has got us. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you would have never thought that we'd be having conversations about what we do today, which the woke world has brought in. So if you follow the logic of where we're going and you make some projections, the projection's going to be, well, if we're banning all the bad food, and we're banning food, and we're banning sacred plants, and we're banning things that may be alive, and we're going to have to treat AI better, and we're going to bring robots' rights in, and we're going to give animal rights, then you can also give vegetable rights. You're giving trees rights, you're giving country rights, you're giving countrysides rights, you're giving rivers rights, you're giving fields rights, mountains rights. There's law coming in to protect all of those things. So why can't you give plants rights? Why can't you give vegetables rights? And with AI, if you merge a human and a plant together, because they're going to merge humans and animals together, but if you start merging humans and plants together, then if that plant has a human essence, then maybe it's alive, even if it looks like a plant. How much of a human needs to be in a plant before it's alive? How much plant needs to be in a human before it's alive? And these are questions, these are things which are going to happen. These are things which are happening now. And my feeling is that they'll try to take the food out of nature and they'll try to grow it in laboratories. And the reason they want to create this slurry or sludge is so that we get the nutrition that we want, or our body wants, or they tell us that we need. However, there's something called biophotons, and biophotons grow in nature. Biophotons come from light and they are alive. When you eat a plant, you are eating life. You are eating something on an energetical level. When animals eat plants and we eat the animal, we're eating, I think, 10% of those biophotons. In the plants, they get, 40, 50, 80, 100%. When you get the animal gives you biophotons as well. That's the life that comes from the food. That's why when food becomes old, it starts to lose the biophotons. When you freeze it, it starts to lose the biophotons. It ceases to have that freshness and that life, that vitality that we need in order to imbue our body with. And so it's my feeling that when you start to look at aliens or greys or something like that, some people have posited that these guys are like people from the future, or they're in a parallel universe and they've come over, but they were once human and now they're a bit lost and now they live in space. But if you look at all the projections, we're going to Mars. In Mars, you're not going to be able to live in Mars as a human. You're going to have to live in a dome, or you're going to have to live underground. If you live underground, it's going to be dark. You need to change your eyes in order to cope with the dark. You're going to have to change your body to cope with the gravity. If you live in underwater, or you live in the air, or you live in space, you've got all sorts of biological problems. So you have to change the genetics of your body to suit where you live. And if you don't have access to plants, then you've got to grow food. And what's that food going to be? That food's going to be something that the body needs. And I can see, if I look at the projections and I can look and see where we're going, it seems almost as if they want to change the human. They want to change us into something other than what we are. And in order to sustain that thing, you're going to have to give it a food. And that food is something that's going to be grown in laboratories. And what I'm seeing at the moment is all our food is moving to laboratory food. And what I'm saying is that even if you have food or you have water, you can see that it's got minerals and sustenance in it, but it's the energetical stuff that you can't see that has to be in the food that also is part of making humans. And it's the energetical biophotons that are so important that we're going to lose. It's the same as water. If you look at water has two properties. It's got its energetical property and it's got its physical property. Now, that was something that some Japanese guy at a university in Japan said, but it's also something that the shamans and the people and the indigenous people in the rainforest have been saying for 40,000 years as well. It's not a fad that's come along and I'm jumping on it because I've read a paper and everyone else is saying it. It's actually something that the people from the Amazon are saying. They look at the water that comes in jars or glasses or plastic bottles and from supermarket, and they say the water is dead. It's dead water. The water they drink is from the ground, is from rivers, is from springs. They don't drink rainwater anymore because they say it's polluted. So the best water they're saying is spring water. Thank you very much.